Welcome to episode 2 of Moving to Change with JJ. I want to start off this episode with high energy because what I saw today from the Carolina Panthers at training camp day 2, I was pleasantly surprised, to be quite honest with you. After what I experienced yesterday, I know yesterday was day 1, so we were kind of giving them some slack a little bit on that front. But the energy was a little bit different today from a competitive standpoint. The energy was high yesterday just based on the fact that it was day 1. Guys are ready to get the summer kicked off. The fans are in the building. But today, from the very, very beginning, Bryce Young's birthday was today. So even with him coming out, had a couple of fans singing happy birthday to him.
Hey, dear Bryce, happy birthday to you. Appreciate you guys. Happy birthday, Bryce. Appreciate it.
Very, very beginning of practice today. High energy, love that. But before I go too far down the path, if you don't already, make sure to follow For Panthers Fans Only. That's actually the main podcast that we do. Go follow us right now on Instagram and TikTok at For Panthers Fans Only. Subscribe, like, comment right now at the G2S Network. Turn the bell notification on. I will be at training camp every single day with the Carolina Panthers, with the exception of Fan Fest down in Clemson. However, everything else I got you guys covered. So if you want to see kind of what's going on throughout camp, throughout practice, the big plays, the lowlights, etc., go to our Twitter page right now at FPFO_podcast. Hey, look, I'll be honest with you. Even if you're not able to make it, if you follow our Twitter page, I guarantee you'll get a good feel for what's going on and how camp is going that particular day. So again, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Again, like, comment, and subscribe. Run the numbers up. Turn that bell notification on so every time we release and every time we drop, whether it be For Panthers Fans Only, the official podcast, whether it be an episode of Move the Change with me specifically, you will know and you'll be in the loop. We'll jump right into our 3 takeaways from today. Before we do that, I will give you guys a quick injury update. These are just some of the people that I saw, and it kind of plays into some of the things that occurred today overall as a whole. First person that was down today was Tommy Tremble. I don't know what exactly happened to either one of these guys, the specific guys that I'll be touching on. No idea what happened to Tommy Tremble, but he did not practice. He actually showed up to the practice field a little bit late. I want to say maybe 45 minutes to an hour into camp, into practice, and he walked out, went into one of the little garage storage areas or whatever the case may be, put his helmet down, and then he was kind of just lurking around for the remainder of practice. So not 100% sure what happened to him. And then another guy that I'm not sure what happened to, that was a participant in practice earlier on in the session, but then was actually carted off the practice field back to the locker room, Steven Sullivan. Again, not 100% sure what happened to either one of these guys. We'll be watching very closely to see the report for both of those guys. But that being said, to open up the opportunity and open up the door for JT Sanders, a rookie out of the University of Texas, gave him the opportunity to get the ball in his hands a little bit more. He was a lot more active. I will tell you guys, yesterday I did not see much from him. Didn't see a lot from Excel, who was somebody that we'll talk about as well a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. Just regarding what I've seen with him to start camp off. You know, yesterday he had the comments about him having a tough day, being hard on himself just from a reflective standpoint. And part of that reason being the fact that he didn't feel like he was prepared enough, didn't feel like he had been in his playbook enough. So that's what went on with him yesterday. And then today, again, not really much to write home about with the exception of the big catch that, you know, to Carolina Panthers fans, we love seeing that because that is sexy offense, right? That's the modern NFL. That is something the Carolina Panthers lacked last year, was those big plays and the big play ability. So him making that grab, you know, a lot of people will get hyped up about it. You heard the fans in the background of the clip. You get the big reaction from the crowd, but overall, still wanting to see a lot more from Xavier Legette on that front. Now we'll get into our takeaways. I know I said earlier that we were going to get into them. I just get sidetracked a little bit. It's a lot of information. So our 3 takeaways. Number 1 is going to be the energy. Like I started the video off by saying, the energy today was high. It was high, it was high. There was a significant difference. And as a football fan, I believe that you can kind of tell when a team has energy and when a team doesn't. Again, I mentioned yesterday that the energy was good yesterday, but if you go back and watch the video, I specifically was mentioning just the fact that it was day one. The fans were excited. The players seemed to be excited to be back, in the swing of things, whatever the case may be. However, today the energy from a competitive standpoint was at a level we hadn't seen up until this point in camp. Obviously, we're only 2 days in, so you have one side of the spectrum where we have energy just because we're back. The other side is competitive juices were flowing today. A little more communication between the defense and the offense. Couple more plays being made, bigger plays that we didn't necessarily see yesterday. Just overall as a group, energy within the fans was still high. Different experiencing it when you see the competitive juices flowing, because I believe that's when people play at their highest. Pulled out the best in both sides, on both sides of the football, in my opinion. Loved it. Took it a step further, if not 2 or 3 steps further than what we experienced yesterday, for sure. Second takeaway, the front seven had a day. Now, it's not the most sexy thing. People don't really like talking about the trenches. Defensive line obviously gets a lot more love than offensive line, but the front seven as a whole, I would say, people love talking about quarterbacks. People love talking about wide receivers and running backs. People just overall love offense. Sometimes you have to take a step back and give the defense credit. I said what I said yesterday about the defense regarding the edge room. I will say today, their impact was felt a little bit more. Front seven dominated to me today. Obviously, there were some plays here and there where the pressure didn't get there as fast as you would like. We do need help. We do need help within the front seven. We do need help in that edge room. But like I told you guys yesterday, help is on the way. Help is on the way. And just real quick, this is actually a video of the edge rushers that Carolina was rumored to be bringing in yesterday that I touched on a little bit with Unique Ngakwe, Carl Lawson, Marquise Haynes, also a part of that group as well, and then Kamoko Ture. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but those 4 guys did come into camp, as you saw previously. They did come. That was about midway through, so help is on the way. However, the front seven, the edge rushers that we have that did practice in full today, they had a phenomenal day to me. Jadeveon Clowney made a couple of plays. I want to say he had a sack or 2. Also had another couple TFLs. Derek Brown. That combination is going to be definitely something for us to watch going forward within camp as well as in the season. The combination of Derek Brown and Jadeveon Clowney right now looks insane. Now, I don't know if that says more about them or if it says more about our offensive line. But what I do note is today, that front seven looked great. So that is our second takeaway. And then thirdly, a guy that on For Panthers Fans Only we've spoken a lot about. I spoke about him more in detail yesterday. I said that it was time for him to take that step. I even question the fact that he would still be on the roster, and I'm not saying that anything he did or didn't do today would solidify that or change that, but I will say the guy stepped up and he bounced back. Terrace Marshall Jr. Now I will preface this because I know a lot of you guys, specifically if you were at camp, I know a lot of you guys are going to talk about the fumble. Terrace Marshall Jr. did have a fumble, caught it, under little underneath route into the flat, caught the pass, and really just turned up field and just dropped the ball. Now the rain was coming down pretty hard, so I don't know, as far as the mudding with the footballs and things of that nature, if that affected it. But what I do know that it was a bad fumble. I will say that. But on the positive side, I will say Terrace Marshall Jr. was extremely busy today. If my count is correct, I would say that Terrace Marshall Jr. probably had between pass scale, between live drills, I want to say Terrace Marshall Jr. had maybe 7, 8, 9 catches today overall. And to be quite honest with you, if you take Xavier Legette's bomb down the seam in one-on-one drills, you take that away, Terrace Marshall Jr. had the best play at camp today with a deep out route. I'm not sure exactly, I can't remember what session that was during. I believe it was during the live session as a matter of fact, but like I said, 15 or 20 yard out route. ran the route perfectly. Route running seemed to be top tier on that particular rep. I'm not gonna say Terrace Marshall Jr. is the best route runner that we have on this roster, but that particular route looked very, very good. Toe drag swag. Bryce put it right on the money. Phenomenal catch, phenomenal play. So shout out to Terrace Marshall for being not only our third takeaway, but rising to the occasion after a relatively pedestrian day yesterday and taking a step in the right direction, in my opinion. Now, we will get to our good, bad, and ugly. Now, this is something that didn't make the list. Didn't make good, bad, and ugly. That didn't make the 3 takeaways, but I know there are people like me invested. I know our producer, Tavian, is one of those people that kind of invested in this battle as well. But thicker the kicker, Mevis did miss a field goal today during live. And I tweeted out, I said, this is something that we haven't seen pretty much throughout the duration of the summer as well as the offseason. We hadn't seen Mevis miss a live kick. Today, that happened. Now, I'm not sure how they're structuring this kicking battle, but I do know yesterday Mevis did not kick live. Not sure if this is like a on a day, off a day type thing, because Eddie Pinheiro kicked yesterday during team, and then today Mevis kicked today during team. So I guess that's how they're playing it. Mevis did miss. I will throw that out there again for the people that are invested in the kicking battle. He did miss today, and I want to say that Eddie Pinheiro did not miss yesterday. So that's something that we're definitely going to keep an eye on. One of the more intriguing and polarizing roster battles to talk about, really, in my opinion. For the good, the bad, the ugly. The good, Jadeveon Clowney wreaked havoc today. Every opportunity he had to rush the passer, he was either in Bryce's lap, Andy's lap, whoever the quarterback is at that time, or he was a step or two, off of the release point in which, he made a couple of plays that looked like they could have been a sack, whatever the case may be. But definitely, Jadeveon Clowney, he started camp off phenomenal to me. He made some plays yesterday, had a sack yesterday, had a TFL, maybe even 2 yesterday. And then again today, 2-3 sacks, couple of TFLs. The good today was definitely Jadeveon Clowney for sure. The bad, Bryce Young's inconsistency. Now, I'm not going to slander the birthday boy because I know how y'all get. I already know that you guys think that I don't like Bryce Young. Y'all think I have a personal vendetta against him just for whatever reason. This is completely unbiased. I saw a lot of beat writers like Dave Newton, Joe Person, those guys, speaking on Bryce Young and the good that they saw, and that is phenomenal. Like, obviously you want to big up your franchise quarterback. However, I don't think they told the full story because there were times, more specifically when it was raining, I will give him the benefit of the doubt on that front. It was raining, okay, cool. But this is the NFL, and it rains in the NFL, and when you're a franchise quarterback, you have to know how to adjust to that. Bryce Young struggled today. He did. He had some good plays. He had some good throws. There were a couple of passes, like I mentioned earlier with the Terrace Marshall Jr. pass, couple of dimes, and those were, great to see. Love to see it. Glad to see him progressing and taking a step in that direction. However, the inconsistency is the problem. The inconsistency is the bad, so to speak, because when it started raining, in one-on-one drills, wide receivers, DBs, and 2 or 3 throws that Bryce Young missed, and then they went into pass scale, I believe, in the 7-on-7. And then there was a severe miscommunication with Stephen Sullivan. This was pre his injury, so I'm not sure what happened on that one. But what I know is the throw was made to an area on the field where there was absolutely nobody there. So that's something I want to definitely see be cleaned up on Bryce Young's end. We have to be more consistent. And I know it's a constant growing cycle, so I understand that, and that's kind of why I will give him leeway on that front. And then again, like I mentioned, it was raining, and at some point or another, it was raining relatively hard. So that obviously could have affected what, his delivery of the football, whatever the case may be. But again, I want to see more consistency. Bryce Young did have good throws today. I'm not in here to tell you that he didn't. He did have good throws today, but he also had some really, really bad throws too. There were a couple of those passes where there was no doubt about it that Bryce was trying to make the throw and just showed on that particular play to have an inability to make that particular throw. So the consistency aspect of Bryce Young's day-to-day gave me cause for pause. It was kind of alarming. It's not a panic, but it was a tad bit alarming enough to put it as the bad, so to speak, for this particular segment for today. Now the ugly. For one, a lot of this stuff, I understand rain and weather and everything like that plays a part in it, but the fumbles, I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe there were 3 fumbles based off of my count. I know for a fact TMJ had one, and I know for a fact Deontay Johnson had one, and I can't remember if somebody else had one today or if I'm thinking about a fumble that occurred yesterday. However, it was a problem regardless. If you take a look at the fumbles that happened today, TMJ, like I mentioned earlier, wide open, nobody on him, catches the ball, turns upfield, makes that football move that the NFL likes to look for, and literally just dropped it on his own accord. That was very ugly and nasty. And then with the Deontay Johnson one, it was a great effort played by cornerback Dane Jackson, so I'll give him credit on that one because he did punch it out. But that's not something that you want to see, especially with a guy that has had, let Pittsburgh Steelers fan tell it, has had problems with drops, has had problems with fumbles in his career. So that's not something that we want to consistently see, and I hope that's not a habit that will be exploited during the season, the actual season. Obviously, it's only day 2 of training camp, so we're not overreacting to anything. If I'm being honest, to me, defense won the day today. Like I said, the media boosts the offense. It's sexier. But to me, defense won the day today. And I thought at first I could have been being a little biased. But like I mentioned, I was around 4 or 5 other content creators, as well as had my boy Carter with me. And we all pretty much came to the consensus that the defense did in fact win the day today. So shout out to the defense and shout out to you guys for watching. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Tomorrow is an off day, so I'll get a chance to kind of get my wits about me. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Move the Chains. Again, we will be back on Saturday, nothing tomorrow. Like, comment, subscribe, turn the bell notification on so you know when we drop, and we will be back very, very soon. Peace.